In the shadowed corridors of British intelligence during the early 1940s, a delicate and relentless battle was unfolding. One waged not with guns and tanks, but with whispers, cryptic codes, and the painstaking unraveling of enemy secrets. Within the austere walls of MI6 and the labyrinthine chambers of Bletchley Park, British spies undertook an extraordinary task: to pierce the veil of Nazi secrecy that cloaked some of the most harrowing and consequential plans in modern history. The air was thick with anticipation and cautious optimism as intercepted messages began to flow into the hands of codebreakers and analysts, revealing the chilling extent of Nazi ambitions. These British agents operated in an environment where every intercepted communication held the potential to alter the fate of nations. The Nazis, convinced of their technological and operational invulnerability, placed immense faith in their codes and ciphers, believing their plans were impervious to discovery. Yet, this confidence was fatally misplaced. The reality was that British code-breaking successes, spearheaded by efforts like those at Bletchley Park decrypting the Enigma cipher, was systematically dismantling the Axis power's conceit of secrecy. Through this relentless intellectual siege, British intelligence illuminated the shadowy intentions that the Nazi regime sought so desperately to conceal. The revelations that emerged from these decrypted messages were staggering. Military campaigns that were to reshape the European continent, technological projects that promised to usher in new forms of warfare, and sinister political maneuvers, all were exposed in painstaking detail. Nazi strategies, once thought to be impenetrable, were laid bare, allowing British intelligence not only to anticipate but to strategically counteract the Axis on multiple fronts. The intercepted communications provided more than raw data. They offered a narrative of Nazi objectives, timelines, and vulnerabilities that British leaders could exploit. Within this clandestine world, the British spies became the unsung vanguards of Allied resistance. Their work was both cerebral and perilous, requiring a blend of patience, ingenuity, and a profound commitment to the cause. The intercepted messages were more than mere fragments of information. They were the lifeblood of a broader intelligence framework that shaped Allied strategies. As these secret transmissions were decrypted and analyzed, British intelligence began to weave a sophisticated tapestry of understanding that stretched from the war rooms of London to the battlefields of Europe. This unfolding intelligence coup was not merely a triumph of cryptographic skill, but also one of ideological revelation. The stark contrast between Nazi self-assurance and the reality of British espionage success underscored a deeper truth about the nature of the conflict: that the war was as much a battle of minds and information as it was of armies and artillery. The intercepted messages revealed not only military intentions but also the ideological currents driving the Axis war machine, a ruthless determination that British intelligence would seek to undermine through strategic foresight and covert action. As the decoded plan surfaced, British intelligence swiftly moved to integrate this knowledge into the larger Allied effort. The secret halls of command became arenas where intercepted Nazi intentions were debated and dissected, informing decisions that would ripple across multiple theaters of war. The strategic advantage gained from these revelations was immeasurable, providing the Allies with a critical edge in anticipating enemy maneuvers and preparing defenses. It was a game of shadows and signals, where every decrypted message tightened the noose around Nazi ambitions. The narratives that emerged from British intelligence reports painted a vivid picture of an Axis power struggling to maintain the illusion of control. The intercepted communications illuminated the meticulous planning behind invasions, the deployment of forces, and the development of weapons that could have altered the course of the war. Each decrypted message was a thread in a larger fabric that British spies were methodically unraveling, revealing the broader strategic landscape that the Nazis sought to dominate. These early intelligence breakthroughs were not isolated incidents but the foundation of a vast and intricate network of espionage. British spies, often operating in hostile territory and under constant threat, risked their lives to ensure that the Allies remained informed. Their efforts transformed the abstract and often enigmatic world of secret codes into actionable intelligence that shaped military and political strategies. The contrast between the Nazi belief in their own invulnerability and the British reality of persistent code-breaking success represented a decisive ideological victory, one that foreshadowed the ultimate unraveling of the Axis war machine. The significance of this espionage success extended beyond the immediate strategic implications. It represented a moral and intellectual triumph. The intercepted messages exposed not only operational plans but also the brutal and cynical nature of Nazi ambitions. British intelligence became a beacon of resistance, a testament to the power of vigilance, intellect, and courage in the face of tyranny. The clandestine efforts within MI6 and Bletchley Park exemplified how the war for information was inseparable from the broader struggle for freedom and justice. In this crucible of secrecy and revelation, British spies forged an essential weapon against the Axis powers. Their work was meticulous and often unheralded, yet indispensable. The decrypted Nazi plans provided a roadmap for Allied counteractions that would reverberate through the war's decisive battles and campaigns. Each intercepted message was a victory of insight over ignorance, a triumph of strategic foresight over blind aggression. It was through these covert operations that the British intelligence community began to shape the unfolding narrative of the war, steering it away from Axis domination toward Allied resilience and eventual victory. Thus, within the secretive domains of British intelligence, the first critical cracks appeared in the seemingly impregnable facade of Nazi secrecy. The intercepted messages, painstakingly decrypted and analysed, unveiled the hidden intentions of a regime bent on conquest and destruction. British spies emerged not merely as gatherers of information, but as architects of strategic advantage, their clandestine operations illuminating the path toward Allied success. This early espionage achievement set the stage for the sustained intelligence efforts that would prove decisive in the broader conflict, marking the beginning of a profound transformation in the conduct and outcome of World War II. Building upon the initial breakthroughs in decrypting Nazi communications, British intelligence soon expanded its reach through a vast and intricate network of espionage operations that penetrated deep into Nazi-occupied Europe. These covert operations were the lifeblood of the Allied war effort, a complex web woven from the efforts of countless agents whose courage and resourcefulness enabled the acquisition of critical intelligence at enormous personal risk. Behind the cryptographic triumphs lay the tangible realities of undercover work, agents operating in hostile territories, navigating an environment fraught with suspicion and peril, where one misstep could mean capture, torture, or death. The British spy networks were meticulously organized, combining the talents of diplomats, local resistance fighters, and specially trained operatives. These individuals undertook perilous missions to infiltrate Nazi command structures, secure vital documents, and establish communication channels with London. Their work was not simply about gathering fragmented bits of information. It was an exercise in precision and patience, assembling a mosaic of intelligence that would reveal the broader contours of Nazi strategy. One agent recalled the tension of these clandestine operations, reflecting, every meeting, every coded message, was a thread that could unravel the enemy's tightly woven plans. Among the most significant elements of British espionage success was the cracking of the Enigma code, a technological and intellectual feat that transformed intercepted Nazi transmissions from indecipherable gibberish into invaluable insights. The painstaking work of mathematicians and linguists at Bletchley Park decrypted vast quantities of German military communications, exposing troop movements, supply routes, and strategic intentions. These decryptions were not mere academic exercises. They were the raw material upon which the entire Allied intelligence apparatus depended. The ability to read Nazi communications in near real time altered the strategic landscape, enabling the Allies to anticipate and disrupt enemy operations across multiple fronts. Yet, the intelligence war extended far beyond the cryptographic domain. Double agents and informants played a critical role in this shadow conflict, weaving a tapestry of deception that confounded the Axis powers. British intelligence cultivated and controlled numerous double agents who fed carefully crafted misinformation to the Nazis while simultaneously extracting valuable intelligence from within enemy ranks. This intricate dance of subterfuge was exemplified in operations such as the double cross system, which brilliantly manipulated German perceptions and sowed confusion within their command structures. These agents became pivotal conduits of both truth and deception, their actions blurring the lines between reality and artifice in the fog of war. The cumulative effect of these espionage efforts was profound. The intelligence gathered did not constitute isolated data points, but rather a comprehensive and dynamic portrait of Nazi tactics and timelines. This portrait was continually refined through the integration of intercepted communications, field reports, and human intelligence. British intelligence networks operated with remarkable efficiency, synthesizing information from diverse sources to construct actionable assessments of Axis capabilities and intentions. These insights were disseminated rapidly to military planners and political leaders, underpinning decisions that would shape the trajectory of the war. The experiences of British agents during infiltration and communication were marked by constant danger and uncertainty. Many operated under false identities, relying on forged documents and covert radio transmissions to maintain contact with London. The risk of betrayal or interception loomed ever present, demanding extraordinary vigilance and resilience. Agents often recounted the psychological toll of their missions, where each encoded radio message sent or received could be the last. One operative described the perilous nature of clandestine transmissions, We spoke in code, knowing that the slightest mistake would be fatal, yet our resolve never wavered. This intricate espionage network also highlighted the stark contrast between Allied intelligence capabilities and Axis secrecy measures. While Nazi Germany invested heavily in cryptographic security and counterintelligence, British ingenuity and adaptability consistently outpaced these efforts. The Allies' ability to infiltrate and manipulate enemy networks underscored a strategic superiority that went beyond battlefield engagements. The Axis powers, despite their formidable military might, were repeatedly blindsided by the depth and precision of British intelligence operations. This imbalance was a decisive factor that eroded the effectiveness of Nazi war plans and undermined their operational confidence. The strategic value of these espionage successes was not lost on British military and political leaders. Intelligence derived from spy networks informed pivotal decisions, from the timing of offensives to the allocation of scarce resources. The detailed knowledge of Nazi troop deployments, fortifications, and technological developments allowed the Allies to conduct targeted operations with increased efficacy. In some cases, the intelligence gathered directly thwarted Axis plans, forcing the Nazis to alter or abandon critical initiatives. British spies thus operated as the unseen architects of Allied strategy, their covert actions resonating through the corridors of power and command. Moreover, the integration of double agents and misinformation campaigns added a psychological dimension to the intelligence war. By feeding deceptive narratives to the Axis, British intelligence sowed discord and uncertainty among Nazi commanders. This manipulation of enemy perceptions was instrumental in disrupting coordination and delaying offensive operations. The ability to control the flow of information, to dictate what the enemy believed, was a potent weapon in the broader struggle for supremacy. The spies' work was not only about uncovering secrets but also about shaping the enemy's strategic calculus. The cumulative impact of these espionage operations was a testament to the extraordinary scale and complexity of British intelligence efforts. The networks extended across continents, linking agents in occupied territories with analysts and commanders thousands of miles away. The seamless flow of information, often conveyed through coded radio transmissions and clandestine couriers, formed the backbone of Allied situational awareness. This intelligence infrastructure operated in the shadows yet exerted a decisive influence on the visible theatres of war. Through these covert activities, British agents embodied the intersection of bravery, intellect, and sacrifice. Their contributions, often hidden from public view, were vital in transforming fragmented intelligence into a coherent and strategic advantage. The records and testimonies from this period attest to the relentless dedication of these operatives, whose actions not only gathered information but also actively shaped the course of the conflict. Their legacy is enshrined in the many instances where intelligence gleaned through espionage directly influenced the outcome of battles and campaigns. As British intelligence networks penetrated ever deeper into enemy-held territory, the Axis powers found themselves increasingly vulnerable to exposure and disruption. The espionage success of the Allies created a cascade of challenges for Nazi operational security, forcing constant adjustments and engendering mistrust within their own ranks. The intricate dance of infiltration, deception, and information gathering played out as a continuous contest of wills and wits. In this crucible of espionage, the British spy networks emerged not merely as observers but as active agents of disruption against the Axis war machine. Thus, the story of British espionage during this critical phase of the war is one of extraordinary complexity and courage. The vast intelligence networks, the brave undercover agents, and the sophisticated cryptographic breakthroughs combined to provide the Allies with unprecedented insight into Nazi strategies. This comprehensive web of covert operations was instrumental in shaping the Allied response, offering a strategic advantage that was as decisive as any military victory on the battlefield. Through their relentless efforts, British spies illuminated the darkest corners of Nazi plans, turning the tide of war through intelligence and subterfuge. Upon receiving the invaluable intelligence supplied by its extensive spy networks, British military and political leaders confronted the daunting task of translating raw information into effective strategic action. The intercepted Nazi plans and decrypted communications did not merely enrich Allied understanding, they compelled decisive responses that would alter the trajectory of the war. This phase of British intelligence operations was marked by a seamless integration of espionage-derived knowledge into military planning and diplomatic maneuvering, reflecting a sophisticated appreciation of the symbiotic relationship between information and power. British leadership, acutely aware of the stakes, moved with deliberate urgency. The intelligence reports revealed vulnerabilities within Nazi operations, opportunities to disrupt supply lines, and the timing of impending offensives. These revelations prompted the enactment of targeted countermeasures, meticulously designed to exploit Axis weaknesses while minimizing Allied exposure. Among the most consequential actions were precision bombing raids aimed at key logistical hubs and technological facilities, operations that sought to cripple the enemy's capacity for sustained warfare. These raids were not mere acts of destruction, but strategic strikes informed by the very intelligence British spies had painstakingly acquired. The orchestration of such countermeasures demanded close coordination between intelligence agencies and military commanders. British planners used decrypted information to anticipate Nazi movements and deploy forces preemptively, often outmaneuvering the enemy before they could execute their plans. This proactive posture contrasted starkly with the reactive strategies that had previously characterized many Allied campaigns. The newfound ability to strike with foresight was a direct consequence of espionage success, transforming the nature of warfare from one of attrition to one of calculated precision. Furthermore, British intelligence facilitated critical collaboration with Allied forces beyond the British Isles. The sharing of decrypted Axis plans with American and Soviet commanders fostered a unified approach to countering Nazi offensives. This strategic alliance extended the reach of British espionage, allowing coordinated responses across multiple theaters of war. The intelligence served as a common currency, aligning diverse military efforts toward the shared objective of undermining Axis ambitions. Such coordination magnified the impact of espionage, ensuring that the revelations gleaned from intercepted messages had tangible effects on the battlefield. Instances abound where British reaction to intelligence forced the Nazis into abrupt strategic recalibrations. One notable example involved the disruption of a planned offensive by German forces in North Africa. Decrypted communications alerted the Allies to the timing and composition of the assault, enabling them to reinforce vulnerable positions and launch counterattacks that blunted the Axis advance. This forced the Nazis to abandon their initial plans, a tactical retreat that marked a turning point in the Desert Campaign. Such episodes underscored the power of intelligence to not only predict but to actively shape enemy behavior. The strategic exploitation of espionage extended beyond immediate military engagements. British intelligence informed deceptive operations designed to mislead the Axis about Allied intentions. The orchestration of such ruses, including the famous deception plans preceding the D-Day invasion, relied heavily on the knowledge acquired through espionage. By manipulating Axis perceptions, the Allies sowed confusion and dispersed German forces, diluting their capacity to mount effective resistance. This psychological dimension of warfare was a testament to the multifaceted utility of intelligence, encompassing not only information gathering but also manipulation and control. British military and political leaders demonstrated remarkable agility in harnessing these espionage-derived advantages. The intelligence community's ability to provide timely and accurate assessments earned the trust of decision-makers, who increasingly relied on these insights to guide strategic planning. This trust was not misplaced. The integration of intelligence into military operations was a decisive factor in the success of numerous campaigns. The outcome of battles, once uncertain and fraught with risk, became increasingly predictable as British espionage success illuminated the enemy's intentions and limitations. Moreover, the British response to discovered Nazi plans reflected an understanding of the broader strategic context. Intelligence was not wielded solely for tactical gains, but was employed as part of a comprehensive effort to erode the Axis war machine systematically. Targeted sabotage of supply chains and technological projects, informed by spy reports, aimed to cripple the enemy's capacity for prolonged conflict. These efforts contributed to a cumulative weakening of Nazi operational effectiveness, demonstrating how intelligence could be leveraged to impose attritional pressure without engaging in costly direct confrontation. The strategic advantage conferred by British espionage was further amplified by the rapid dissemination of intelligence within command structures. Information flowed swiftly from analysts to commanders in the field, enabling real-time adjustments that thwarted Nazi initiatives. This responsiveness was a hallmark of British intelligence operations, reflecting a culture of efficiency and adaptability. The ability to act decisively on intelligence reduced Allied vulnerabilities and maximized the impact of their limited resources, a crucial factor in a war defined by scarcity and urgency. In some cases, British reactions to intelligence precipitated cascading effects within the Axis command. The exposure of clandestine projects and planned offensives forced Nazi leadership into defensive postures, diverting resources to counter perceived threats. This reactive stance diminished the initiative of the Axis powers, allowing the Allies to seize the momentum. British espionage thus not only facilitated immediate tactical successes but also contributed to a strategic shift in the balance of power. The Axis, once confident in their secrecy and operational capabilities, found themselves increasingly constrained and uncertain. The interplay between espionage and strategic exploitation was emblematic of a broader transformation in the conduct of war. The British experience demonstrated that intelligence was not a passive tool but an active agent of change, capable of reshaping military realities and political calculations. The synthesis of covert operations, decrypted communications, and strategic planning forged a new paradigm in which information became as vital as firepower. This evolution underscored the intellectual dimension of warfare and the growing importance of intelligence in securing victory. British leaders' adeptness in leveraging spy-derived intelligence also fostered innovation in counterintelligence and security measures. Anticipating Axis attempts to intercept or deceive, British agencies enhanced their operational protocols and communication security. This vigilance preserved the integrity of intelligence flows and safeguarded the strategic advantage. The constant interplay between intelligence gathering and countermeasures created a dynamic environment where adaptability was paramount. British espionage success was thus sustained not only by technological prowess, but also by organizational resilience and ingenuity. Throughout this period, the relationship between intelligence and military action was characterized by a profound sense of urgency and purpose. British spies' discoveries did not languish in archives. They were catalysts for immediate and impactful responses. The strategic exploitation of Nazi plans exemplified the effective fusion of information and action, where knowledge translated directly into battlefield success. This synergy between espionage and military command was instrumental in shifting the tides of war, affirming the centrality of intelligence in modern conflict. In sum, the British response to the vast intelligence gleaned from espionage operations was a masterclass in strategic exploitation. Military and political leaders harnessed this knowledge to disrupt Nazi operations, coordinate Allied defenses, and orchestrate deceptive campaigns that confounded the Axis powers. The swift and decisive application of intelligence transformed raw data into a formidable weapon, altering the nature of warfare and securing critical advantages for the Allies. This phase of the conflict illuminated the indispensable role of espionage as a force multiplier and a driver of Allied success. The relentless successes of British intelligence in penetrating Nazi secrecy began to inflict profound and escalating damage on the Axis powers' operational integrity and strategic cohesion. As the stream of intercepted communications and espionage revelations intensified, the once unassailable confidence of the Nazi leadership began to erode, replaced by suspicion, paranoia, and a creeping sense of vulnerability. This psychological unraveling was as consequential as any physical blow dealt on the battlefield, for it struck at the heart of the Axis command's ability to coordinate and execute their war efforts with precision and unity. The British espionage triumphs exposed cracks in the Axis's operational security that widened with each intercepted message. The Nazis' painstakingly crafted plans, once thought immune to detection, were repeatedly compromised, forcing hurried alterations and, at times, outright abandonment of critical initiatives. This erosion of secrecy was a strategic catastrophe for the Axis, undermining the effectiveness of their coordinated campaigns and diluting the potency of their military offensives. The intelligence gleaned by British spies became a catalyst for disruption, unraveling the fabric of Nazi strategy thread by thread. This breach of security had a cascading effect on the Axis's ability to maintain cohesive and synchronized operations. Supply lines vital to sustaining German and Allied forces were compromised through targeted strikes informed by espionage, straining the logistical underpinnings of the Nazi war machine. Technological projects, including advanced weaponry and secret research endeavors, were exposed and sabotaged, stymieing innovation that might have altered the conflict's balance. Even diplomatic alliances, fragile and contingent, were jeopardized as intelligence leaks revealed clandestine negotiations and intentions, eroding trust among Axis partners. The psychological impact on Nazi leadership was profound and multifaceted. Realizing that their communications were no longer secure, commanders grew increasingly distrustful of their own networks and personnel. This atmosphere of suspicion permeated the upper echelons of Nazi command, impairing decision-making processes and fostering internal discord. The paranoia induced by British espionage successes hindered the Axis's ability to respond swiftly and cohesively, as leaders grappled with the fear that any plan could be compromised or anticipated by the enemy. British intelligence operations thus functioned as a force multiplier, their mere existence compelling the Axis to divert resources toward counterintelligence and security efforts. This reallocation of assets weakened defensive capabilities and sapped the strategic initiative from Nazi forces. The Axis powers found themselves trapped in a defensive posture, constantly reacting to the revelations of British spies rather than dictating the terms of engagement. This shift marked a critical turning point, as the momentum of the war began to tilt irrevocably toward the Allies. Moreover, the disruption of supply lines, a direct consequence of intelligence-led Allied actions, severely hampered the Axis's operational reach. Vital shipments of fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements were intercepted or destroyed, diminishing the combat effectiveness of German units spread across vast and hostile territories. The British espionage network's ability to pinpoint these logistical vulnerabilities allowed the Allies to strike with surgical precision, exacerbating the challenges faced by Axis commanders in sustaining their war efforts. Technological projects, once shrouded in secrecy, became increasingly vulnerable to exposure and sabotage. British intelligence revealed details of experimental weapons and secret programs, enabling targeted attacks that delayed or derailed their development. This intelligence coup deprived the Axis of potential game-changing innovations, denying them the technological edge they desperately sought. The cumulative effect was a steady attrition of Nazi capabilities, achieved not solely through direct confrontation but through the strategic application of espionage-derived knowledge. The exposure of Axis diplomatic intentions further complicated the strategic landscape for Nazi Germany. Intelligence leaks uncovered covert negotiations and shifting alliances, sowing discord among Axis partners and undermining the unity essential for sustained war efforts. British espionage thus extended its influence beyond the battlefield, penetrating the political realm and destabilizing the Axis coalition. This erosion of trust among allies compounded the challenges faced by Nazi leadership, constraining their ability to project power effectively. The domino effect of British spy revelations permeated every facet of Axis strategy, unraveling carefully laid plans and fostering an environment of uncertainty and vulnerability. The Nazis' inability to maintain operational security eroded their strategic advantage and exposed them to increasingly effective Allied counteractions. The cumulative impact of these intelligence breaches was the gradual weakening and eventual collapse of key Axis initiatives, marking a decisive shift in the balance of power during the war. This unraveling was not merely a matter of intercepted codes or lost documents. It represented a fundamental ideological defeat for the Axis. The illusion of invincibility, carefully cultivated by Nazi propaganda and military doctrine, was shattered by the persistent and pervasive reach of British espionage. The exposure of their plans and intentions revealed the limitations of their power and the fallibility of their command structures. British intelligence success thus served as both a tactical and symbolic blow, undermining the Axis's narrative of dominance and inevitability. The psychological toll extended beyond the highest echelons of command to the rank and file of Axis forces. As news of intelligence failures and compromised operations filtered through the ranks, morale suffered. Soldiers and officers alike grappled with the realization that their movements and strategies were no longer shielded from enemy scrutiny. This erosion of confidence further diminished the Axis's capacity for coordinated resistance, amplifying the effects of British espionage on the broader war effort. British intelligence did not operate in isolation but as part of a comprehensive Allied strategy that capitalized on the vulnerabilities exposed through espionage. The integration of intelligence with military and political action magnified the impact of each revelation, turning knowledge into power. The Axis, confronted with this relentless pressure, found their strategic options shrinking as British spies continued to illuminate their every move. The gradual but inexorable collapse of Nazi strategy was thus inextricably linked to the successes of British intelligence networks. In the context of this ideological and operational unraveling, the story of British espionage emerges as one of not only tactical brilliance but also strategic foresight. The persistence and ingenuity of British agents in uncovering and exploiting Axis weaknesses transformed the nature of the conflict. Their work dismantled the facade of Nazi invulnerability and hastened the demise of a regime predicated on secrecy and domination. The unraveling of Nazi strategy under the weight of British espionage stands as a testament to the decisive power of intelligence in modern warfare. This phase of the war underscored the interplay between information and ideology, revealing how the exposure of hidden truths could shatter the foundations of totalitarian power. British intelligence did more than gather secrets. It illuminated the path to liberation by stripping away the shadows in which the Axis sought to conceal their ambitions. The cumulative revelations from espionage penetrated the heart of Nazi strategy, unraveling it with a precision that battlefield victories alone could not achieve. Thus, the impact of British intelligence on the Axis powers extended far beyond immediate military outcomes. It reshaped the psychological landscape of the conflict, undermining confidence, disrupting cohesion, and dismantling the strategic framework upon which the Nazis relied. The gradual erosion of Axis strength and unity, precipitated by espionage successes, contributed decisively to the eventual Allied victory. In this light, British espionage stands not only as a story of covert operations but as a defining element in the ideological and strategic downfall of the Axis war machine. In the aftermath of the Second World War, the profound achievements of British intelligence were gradually acknowledged as a pivotal force in shortening the conflict and saving countless lives. The revelations uncovered by British spies, once shrouded in secrecy, emerged as cornerstones of the Allied victory narrative, highlighting the indispensable role of espionage in undermining the Axis powers. This legacy of intelligence success transcended the immediate military context, influencing the very foundations of modern intelligence practices and shaping the contours of post-war international security. The wartime espionage techniques honed by British agencies set new standards for intelligence gathering, cryptanalysis, and covert operations. Methods perfected during the conflict, such as code breaking, double agent management, and clandestine communications, became integral components of intelligence frameworks worldwide. The pioneering work at Bletchley Park and the extensive spy networks established across Europe formed templates for subsequent intelligence organizations, embedding a culture of vigilance and innovation that endured beyond the war. These advances laid the groundwork for the Cold War intelligence apparatus and continue to inform contemporary espionage practices. Allied commanders and political leaders, in their post-war reflections and testimonies, repeatedly credited British spy networks with providing critical advantages that shifted the balance of power. Their insights underscored how timely intelligence prevented catastrophic losses and enabled strategic initiatives that might otherwise have failed. The story of British espionage was not merely one of information acquisition but of transforming intelligence into actionable power, an achievement that altered the course of history. These acknowledgements from the highest levels of command cemented the reputation of British intelligence as a decisive instrument of wartime strategy. Moreover, the enduring narrative of British vigilance and swift reaction became emblematic of the broader Allied commitment to defeating tyranny. The spies' relentless efforts to expose Nazi plans exemplified the moral and intellectual resolve underpinning the Allied cause. Their clandestine victories embodied a form of resistance that was as crucial as any battlefield triumph, demonstrating how knowledge and secrecy could be wielded as weapons against oppression. This narrative fostered a lasting admiration for intelligence services, recognizing them as guardians of liberty and security. The legacy of British espionage extends beyond mere historical record. It serves as a symbolic testament to the power of strategic foresight and ideological clarity. The timely exposure of Nazi plans was not simply an operational success but an ideological triumph that sealed the fate of the Axis powers. By unveiling the hidden intentions and vulnerabilities of the Nazi regime, British intelligence undermined the very foundations of fascist ambitions, contributing to the preservation of democratic values and international order. This ideological dimension elevates the story of espionage from a tale of covert action to a profound chapter in the struggle for human dignity. The influence of British intelligence successes also shaped post-war intelligence cooperation among Allied nations. The trust and collaboration forged during the conflict laid the groundwork for enduring partnerships, such as the Five Eyes Alliance, which continue to play crucial roles in global security. The shared experiences of espionage fostered mutual understanding and coordination, ensuring that the lessons learned from wartime intelligence operations informed collective defense strategies in the decades that followed. This legacy of cooperation stands as a testament to the lasting impact of British espionage on international relations. In recounting the contributions of British spies, one encounters a tapestry of courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice that transcends individual exploits. The networks of agents, cryptographers, and analysts operated in concert to unravel one of history's most formidable regimes, their collective efforts weaving a narrative of resilience and determination. Their work, often conducted in anonymity and peril, was instrumental in tipping the scales of war. The testimonies of those who witnessed the strategic advantages conferred by espionage affirm its central role in Allied victory and its enduring significance. The story of British espionage during World War II is thus etched into the broader historical consciousness as a defining intelligence victory. It represents the synthesis of human intellect, technological innovation, and unwavering commitment to a just cause. The clandestine operations that exposed Nazi plans were not mere episodes of secret service but foundational moments that shaped the modern world order. Their impact resonates in the principles of intelligence work today, underscoring the essential role of information in securing peace and stability. Ultimately, the legacy of British intelligence is a narrative of transformation, of how the meticulous and often dangerous work of spies irrevocably altered the course of global conflict. It is a testament to the power of foresight, courage, and strategic insight in confronting tyranny. The unveiling of Nazi plans by British spies was more than an operational triumph. It was a decisive factor in sealing the fate of the Axis powers and securing the future of freedom. This enduring legacy continues to inspire the ongoing pursuit of truth and justice in the shadowy realms of intelligence and espionage.